Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckeye Politics. It's me, your favorite Ohioan. Today, we're going to be looking at the two special elections taking place in the great state of New York tomorrow, Tuesday, the 23rd. These are pretty critical races. One is obviously very critical. The other is just going to be interesting to see how the Republican does. We're going to look at the more critical, the more competitive race first, and that is the special election in the 19th district. So, the 19th district of New York is a pretty competitive district, as you can see here. In 2020, Biden won the district by exactly 1 point, while in 2016 went to Trump by about 7 points. It's a pretty large district and pretty diverse district. It has parts of Albany and as well as some upper class parts of the Hudson River Valley, as well as some more rural areas kind of near the central part of the state. So it's a very diverse, very large district, and as such, it's very competitive. And now the special election is taking place because the incumbent Democrat Antonio Delgado resigned back in May to become the lieutenant governor of New York. Now this is Antonio Delgado was very well liked in the district. So as you can see here, even though Biden did only carry the district by 1 point, Antonio Delgado won here by like 11 or something. So it's never been super competitive. We go back to 2020. Yeah, he won here very handily. He's very well liked in this district. And so because of that, there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into it, even though it's more closer on the presidential level. But now it's an open seat, and Pat Ryan, who really is not well that known. He is a county executive, and he actually ran for the district back in 2018, tried to primary out Antonio Delgado, the popular representative. So he's not really well known across the district. He's ran before, but really hasn't gone anywhere. And he's going up against Mark Molinaro, who was actually the candidate for governor, I believe, back in 2018 against Andrew Cuomo. And so he has a lot of name recognition. He's pretty popular in among the Republican Party, as he's his anti-Cuomo stances. And this race is going to be very competitive, obviously, but I do think, based on the polling and based on the candidates, I do think Republicans are narrowly going to pull off a victory here. As you can see here, Cook Political Report and Inside Elections both have the races as toss-ups, while Sabato's Crystal Ball has the race as lean R. All the polls here have Mark Molinaro, the Republican, leading, though. Even Democratic internals have him up by about 3 or so, within the margin of error. And I know there's only a couple, and they're not using very large sample sizes, but based on the national environment, based on the candidates, and based on these polls, Mark Molinaro should get a very narrow victory. I expect him to win by about 3 to 4 points or so. I do think that Pat Ryan has a chance at winning here. It's certainly possible he wins. I think this is going to be. I'm not saying Mark Molinaro is going to win by a sizable margin, but just and Pat Ryan, he's not very well known, and the only time he really ran was to run against the incumbent, who was pretty popular back in 2020, and he doesn't have a whole lot of critical endorsements. Um, and the polls show him down, which isn't a good sign, especially Democrat internals. So because of that, I do think that Mark Molinaro, the Republican, is going to pull off a victory here, and probably let's go to 20. Probably, unfortunately, go on to lose in November because the race is taking place in the current boundaries, but after redistricting, this district, as you can see here, the 19th, which is R+5, becomes R+1 and becomes a lot more Democratic leaning. So I think he'll win the special election here now in August, but I think when Mark Molinaro is up for re-election in November, unfortunately, I think he will lose then. But I think as of now, he is going to hang on and win tomorrow against Pat Ryan. And the other race is taking place in the 23rd district, which is a very solid Republican district. It's rural Pennsylvania, it's rural upstate New York on the Pennsylvania border. It's a solidly Republican district. It voted for Trump in 2020 by 12 points. It voted for Trump in 2016 by 16 points. It's like 86% white. It's very working class, and there's really hasn't been a lot of stuff put into the race. The incumbent Republican Tom Reed resigned. He just wanted to get out of there, so he just said, "Screw it, I'm resigning." There have been literally no endorsements for the Democrats other than there have been literally no endorsements for the Democrats. The only Republican has like 2-1 endorsement basically, and so this race between Republican Joe Simpolowski and Max Delapia is going to be a win for the Republicans. The question really is just going to be how big of a win is it going to be, because that could kind of give a sign about how Lee Zeldin could be doing for the governor race, just how upstate New York is going to vote in the future. Like, for example, if Republicans outperform in this district, it could be a good sign for Lee Zeldin and the Republicans in November, because that shows that Republicans in upstate New York will be energized. But then on the flip side, if the race is closer than expected, because by all means, this should be a pretty easy win for the Republicans. But if the race is closer, then that could show that Republicans may be struggling a bit in the state of New York, and Lee Zeldin may have to work a little harder. And so it's going to be kind of an interesting metric to see what happens in upstate New York in the 23rd district. But like I said, the 19th district, I think the Republican Mark Molinaro is going to win there by a pretty slim margin. But it is going to be interesting to see how both these districts vote, because that could have critical critical implications for November, because that could show, if Republicans are energized or if Democrats are energized or whatever. So because this is a very competitive district, it's going to be very interesting to watch, and I highly recommend you get out and vote Republican if you live in these districts. But even if you don't, just watch what's happening, because this could be very important for when we move on to November. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe for more.